In this continued exploration of custom elements in Kontent.ai, I want to look at what you can do to assess the context, the information about the content item or elements that you're using within your content item to give your custom element more information to work with. Primarily, we're going to be looking at the context itself of the custom element, and we're going to be using this method here called getItemDetails, and we're going to be using that to get information about the current content item and just displaying it on the screen. So let's jump in and see what we were doing there. Here's my custom element. You can see here we're going to display the context of the custom element. We're going to display the value of one of the elements within the content item, and we're going to display the information about a particular content item. To show you what we're doing to get there, all we're doing is very simple on the init, so we're not persisting any information here. All we're going to do is we're going to take the context that we pass into the custom element initialization, and we're going to stringify this and then insert it into the inner text of the context element within the page. Similarly, we're going to use the getElementValue method, which you can see over here. If we go and look, getElementValue is over here. We're going to use that to load an element's value and display it onto the page. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to use getItemDetails to display information about the current item that we're looking at, and all we're doing there is from the context we're passing in the item's ID. It's a really simple, straightforward piece of code. Let's go and see all of that in action. Okay, so in order to use that custom element, we're going to need a new content type. So let's call this custom elements context. And as you saw, we were looking at a title field. So I'll pop one of those in there. Just double check it was called title. Yes, it is called title. Okay, and then we're going to need a custom element. And we're going to call this context. And I've got a local host running. Okay, really good name that I've given it there. Now, going back here, as with the previous video that I made about observing changes, here we're trying to pick up something that is the title element. In order for this to work, we need to make sure we've given the custom element access to the title field. So we're going to select it in that field there, and we're going to click Save Changes. That's now created our content type. We're mostly happy. Let's go and have a look and see what it's doing now. So let's look at content and assets. We're going to create a new item. We're going to use our context type. I'll just grab that name, why not? Click create. So straight away, there's a few things that we can look at. I haven't put any content in here, we've just clicked create. What we can see is we've got the context of the custom element over here. So we know the project ID, we know the item that we're currently looking at, we know it's called untitled content item and that's its matching code name, we know information about the variant and so forth. And then the content item itself, we know about the ID, the code name, the name, etc. So this is all useful information to know. If, however, I start making some changes now, so let's use that as the item's name and also the item's title. This isn't going to update because I didn't put an observer on, so we'll just quickly drop out and go back in again. You can see that it's actually updated the code name, it's updated the names. We can see the values of everything that we want to see. And that's useful to know. I think what's intriguing, perhaps is the best word, is the different bits of information we get from the context. So the information in the context for the content item that we're looking at is specifically about the language variant. So we get the ID and the code name and the collection and the name up here, but we also know that the variant we're looking at for the custom element is this particular variant. The content item itself, you'll notice there's nothing to do with variants in here. And if we go back and have a look at what we're calling, you can see get item details, it only takes an ID. And in the documentation as well, you can look at it, get item details, it picks up an ID and an ID only. There's no way in here of requesting information about a language variant. So anything you want to do is something that's not the current content item that you're looking at, you're going to need to write your own code to go and get anything to do with language variants and so forth. Also worth checking is the get element value here. It's a simple enough function. We give it a code name and we give it a callback function to tell it what we need to do, and you can see that reflected in the code here. So here's the element name, and our callback function is simply serializing or simply writing that value to the inner text. Simple bits of information, but really useful as and when you want to pass information about within your implementation while you're developing custom elements. As always, if you've got any questions, please feel free to leave some comments below and I will do my best to answer those, or if needs be, pass them on to the Kontent.ai team. The other option you've got if you have some questions is to go and find the Kontent Discord channel. There's loads of Kontent.ai developers on there, the MVPs are on there, members of the content team themselves. Well worth joining up to that Discord channel. I'll leave a link for that in the description below as well.